Well, Florida is on its third Republican governor now in a row, but that kind of statewide strength hasn't always been the norm, and a lot of people give credit to one man who sparked a shift 25 years ago. He's former Governor Bob Martinez, and he joins me now from Tampa. He's also former mayor of Tampa. Governor Martinez, thanks for coming on this morning.
Good morning, Chuck. Good to be with you.
Well, let me start with all of the conversation that we've heard this week on immigration from Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney. From what you've heard, are you concerned about where the Republican Party is today on immigration, or do you feel better after watching this debate this week?
Well, I think the last couple of debates have seemed to be moving a little bit more to the center than the earlier debates, where I think the candidates were a little bit more extreme in terms of how they looked at immigration. I think they're trying to move towards the center. Obviously, Florida has a very large Hispanic population. You have the Cuban American, which tends to be a Republican group, and then another large group with a lot of voting right power in Florida is the Puerto Rican American, and they have a tendency to be Democrats. So they're about equally balanced on a statewide basis, but I think they have a common concern how you talk about immigration. And I think it's important that as we continue to move into the large states like Florida and others that follow, probably on March 6th, that they have a better idea, greater clarity as to what they mean by immigration policy.
Now, if you could explain a little bit for our viewers, Florida is not a state that feels as if it has an illegal immigration problem. Its differences, its issues are different, say, from what Texas, Arizona, maybe New Mexico is going through. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. I'm native to Florida, and there's always been immigrant workers here in the citrus fields and the strawberry fields and the sugarcane fields. That part is not new to the state of Florida. From a child, I can remember the immigrants coming into Florida, to work. So that's not new. Obviously, there's been a much larger percent. A lot of immigrants now work in construction. A lot of them work in landscaping. So they've left the farm, so to speak. And therefore, there's greater employment opportunities. Now, there's been a slowdown of that in Florida, mainly because our home building and our commercial construction is down. And as a result, jobs which many of them worked in are no longer available. So as a result, it probably isn't as visible now as it might have been 2 or 3 years ago when we had a very strong growth economy.
Is the Republican Party a conservative party in the state of Florida or a more moderate party in the state of Florida?
Well, it's kind of interesting. You have the establishment of the party, of which obviously I'm one of them. But then you have the rank and file who often are insurgent to the candidates chosen by party leaders. And we saw that happen in 2010, where 3 of the 4 statewide races were won by candidates that did not necessarily represent the establishment interests. And they got the nomination and then went on to win the general election. So you do have that. We have that closed primary. It's a very large state. We have 10 huge media markets. And it makes campaigning here very, very difficult. I mean, for the last 4 weeks, Mitt Romney and the Super PAC has been carpet bombing the state of Florida with ads. And you can't come into Florida and not have ammo. By ammo, I mean money and organization. You just can't win Florida without money and organization. But just on enough debates.
Right. That's true. From what you've seen, I think it's fair to assume that we know Romney has the most money with the Super PAC. Gingrich seems to be at least somewhat competitive financially. So let's talk about organization. What kind of organization does Gingrich have, in your opinion, compared to Romney?
Other than Mitt Romney, who, of course, ran 4 years ago, and a lot of the people he had put together 4 years ago remained with him. So immediately before the attention was on Florida, he had amassed a rather large fundraising operation in the state of Florida, had early announced his 67 county leadership team, had early announced his statewide leadership team. Most of the other county candidates didn't show up here till after South Carolina. You can't do that. You got to come in here early. It's a huge state. You got to organize, and to raise money, you need to come in much, much earlier. So I think one of the things candidates for the future may have to understand, they can't wait to the week of the primary in Florida to move in here and do any good.
All right. Well, I know you haven't backed anybody yet. Are you going to back somebody before Tuesday publicly?
No, I'm going to stay neutral publicly. Obviously, I'm going to go vote. I'm an early voter. I show up there early in the morning. But I'm not going to get engaged with a candidate this time around.
All right, former Republican Governor Bob Martinez, and a former coming to us from Tampa this morning. Governor Martinez, thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Chuck.